Welcome back to One-on-One Sports. Joining us now is NFL resident expert Josh Norris. We've been waiting for this day for over 2 years, but finally the Detroit Lions have won a game, upsetting the Redskins 19-14. Was this just a fluke, or is Jim Schwartz really taking this club to the next level, and are the Lions for real?
I wouldn't necessarily give this win to Jim Schwartz. I'd actually give it to their offensive coordinator, Scott Linehan. Now, he is the ex-coach of the St. Louis Rams, but during his tenure there, he had terrible quarterback injuries, a old wide receiving core, and a struggling defense. Now, yesterday he called a great game. 0 turnovers against the Redskins defensive front, that's pretty good, and only 2 sacks. What a game Scott Linehan called against these Redskins.
Well, Detroit fans take a collective sigh of relief. All 40,000 of them that were at the game got to see their team win a game which they hadn't done in 19 tries. So they prevented the 20th game. They still have the second longest losing streak in NFL history. But, Jim Schwartz led the Lions, and, they seem to be doing pretty well. They have just as many wins as the Pittsburgh Steelers, the defending champs. And sticking with the AFC North, do you think you can make any sense of the division? The defending champs are under 500 and are in 3rd place. And the Bengals are somehow in 2nd in the conference at 2-1. Can you make any sense, Springs?
I definitely can. The Baltimore Ravens are 3-0, averaging over 30 points a game. Their defense is playing like the #1 defense in the NFL. Ray Lewis is playing like he's 27. They let up 3 points to the Browns last week, 4 interceptions forced. I see this team going all the way to the Super Bowl, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. The Cincinnati Bengals should be tied for the division lead. They should be 3-0 without Brandon Stokely's miraculous catch. Miracle catch the other week. But their defense looks amazing. They look great against the Packers, and they looked great last week against the Steelers. I see the Bengals being a sleeper team in the AFC. I mean, I'm not ready to make any hasty predictions yet, but at the same time, we got to keep taking a look at the Bengals as long as they keep winning. Steelers losing 2 games in a row. They didn't do that once last year.
And their only win was in overtime against the 0-3 Titans.
Agreed. Mike Tomlin's got to get that club back on track. And Eric Mangini with them, the 0-3 Browns, his job is in jeopardy. That's all we can say.
Now, more on the Bengals. They lost 8 straight games to the Steelers, and this team is a lot tougher than Bengals teams of the past. They added Brian Leonard on offense, a powerful rusher, and on defense, Ray Malaluga and Keith Rivers, 2 physical linebackers. So this team isn't the doormat of the AFC North like it has been in the past couple of years. And also, a healthy Carson Palmer will help you win in any game. But about the Pittsburgh Steelers, this team is not like we've seen in the past as well, in the opposite direction. Now, their offensive line last year, I don't know how they won the Super Bowl with this poor of an offensive line. Justin Hartwig is their center and their best offensive lineman. When that's the case, that's never a good thing. And Mewelde Moore is their best rusher, but they refuse to start him. They'd rather stick with Fast Willie Parker, who has lost a couple steps. Yes. And Rashard Mendenhall is definitely in Mike Tomlin's doghouse.
If I had told you that in the preseason the Steelers would be 1-2 and the Broncos would be undefeated after 3 weeks, would you believe me? The standings seem to be all screwed up. But tell me, Josh, which 3-0 teams are legitimate contenders and which ones are pretenders?
The real contender is the one you talked about, the Baltimore Ravens. This defense has only allowed 17 points per game so far, and the offense has looked spectacular. This is not a sophomore slump for Joe Flacco. They've scored over 34 points in each game so far. And Willis McGahee has looked his best since his junior year at the University of Miami. Yep. This Baltimore Ravens team is for real. But on the opposite side, the Denver Broncos, the only reason that they're 3-0 is because of their schedule. Yes, they played the Cincinnati Bengals in Week 1, but like you said, it was on a miraculous pass, once in a lifetime, that they won that game. And after that, they played the Cleveland Browns and the Oakland Raiders. The schedule only gets harder. They play the Cowboys, Patriots, Chargers, Ravens, and then Steelers. At best, Andrew and Mike, they go 4-4 with that schedule so far.
I'm not going to go as far to say that the Broncos are a contender, but still, 5.6 points per game allowed is a stellar NFL defense. Incredible. 17 points through 3 weeks of football. I don't care who you're playing. That is incredible football. However, my contender is the Minnesota Vikings. Brett Favre had a bad season last season, but it's great to see him throw to a no-name receiver, Greg Lewis, cast off from the Patriots, to score the game-winning touchdown. As far as a pretender, I'm actually going to look at a team that not a lot of people are picking, but the Indianapolis Colts. You say, look at who the team's playing. The Colts beat the Jacksonville Jaguars by 2 points, and their only win was against the Houston Texans. And then they beat Miami by 4 points and only had the ball for 15 minutes of the game, and Miami's 0-3. And then they beat the Arizona Cardinals, whose only win was Jacksonville, who the Colts almost didn't beat. So, the Colts are winning games, but they're not looking stellar doing it. And so, out of the 3-0 teams, I really don't see them being the top notch.
One thing with Indianapolis, though, Peyton Manning has led them to 10-win seasons in 7 consecutive seasons. They haven't missed the playoffs in 5 years. That's incredible for their quarterback.
Well, on the flip side of things, which 0-3 teams are the most surprising to you?
I mean, it's easy. Tennessee Titans.
Has to be.
Jeff Fisher's club. AFC #1 seed last year in the playoffs. I just don't understand. I mean, I do understand. It's their schedule. Mark Sanchez had a great game. The Steelers beat them in overtime in Pittsburgh. It's a tough place to win. The Texans, came back from 14 down at halftime in their game in week 2. 3 good wins, but at the same time, I feel like Jeff Fisher's club should have at least gotten one of those wins. I don't understand how they can be 0-3. And of the 5 teams in NFL history that have started 0-3 to make the playoffs, honestly, I don't see the Titans being the 6th team.
Neither do I, and it has to be the Titans. I mean, last year they finished 9th in passing defense. This year they're 29th. And it really just begged the question, did Albert Haynesworth make that much of a difference? He can't. I mean, they took what money they could have given him in their contract and got other players. Now, with the passing defense, they've got 2 great safeties in Chris Hope and Michael Griffin, and a great corner in Cortland Finnegan. I don't understand this. Now, a couple bold predictions with the Titans. By week 8, after their bye week, I see them being 1-5 because they've got a tough schedule since then. Vince Young will be the starter in week 8. That's my bold prediction.
Well, that wraps up this week's talk of the NFL. Stay tuned for 30 seconds when we have the final showdown.